Welcome everybody, welcome to this yin session this Sunday. And we'll need for this class a few things. One is a chair. So I've got mine here. Any old dining chair will do, any old hard-backed sitting chair will do. And then I've also got two books. So there's a lot of props today. They're the same kind of, they're fairly fat books, and the same kind of even width, and then the usual like cushions and blankets, the usual softy things. So we are going to integrate some chair stretches, and we'll need the books as an equivalent of blocks. So if you have yoga blocks instead of books, then that's wonderful, use those instead. But if you don't, or if you don't have fat books ready, you could also use Tupperware containers from the kitchen, like fairly sturdy plastic containers from the kitchen of the same dimensions. Okay, so we can begin. And our session for today is themed on Aparigraha, which is the fifth of the 5 niyamas. We're going to talk about that over the session, which are kind of like observances for a fruitful and fulfilling life. And it means letting go or non-possessiveness. So we're going to talk through that, and we're going to focus on the meridian of expulsion and the large colon in the body in terms of Chinese herb medicine. And that meridian goes from the tip of your index finger right along on the inside of your arm, around on the outside of your arm, outside of the shoulder, and up into the back of the ear, just below the scalp. We all know there's that very tender, soft groove just on either side of the spinal cord of the vertebra, at the base of the skull, and that's where the meridian ends. So we're going to focus on lots of lovely shoulder openers. So we're going to begin lying down. Our first posture will be to be lying down. Very nice. Support the supported fish pose. So I've got 2 cushions here. I don't know where I've placed I had one big cushion before, can't seem to find it. So I'm using 2 medium-sized cushions, and you're just going to lie back, and I've kind of domed it up in the middle there, just in the middle of the cushions, and that will lie just where at the base of the scapula, the base of the shoulder blade. So just that nice opening for the chest. My legs are then nice and straight, flat in front, feet about hip width apart or further, toes flopping outwards. And then you can bring your hands up on either side of your rib cage. So spreading your fingers and just feeling the rib cage as you press your head back and down into the floor behind you, and lift your chest up without straining, of course, but allowing for that full opening and elevation in the chest. Make sure your neck is not kind of falling off a very hard or high cushion. Make sure the head is supported. So even if the head is a little bit further back or lower down towards the floor than the heart, that's good and fine, but you make sure you aren't straining the neck. And then I invite you to close your eyes here. And connect with your breath. So as you close your eyes in this posture, I invite you to start to focus on the natural flow of inhalation and exhalation with your breath. Yeah. This posture with the cushions beneath the back should feel very comfy. So just take a moment to drink in that sensation of reclining on your mat with such lovely support, placed so carefully in a way to elevate the chest and the heart, allowing for this full rhythmical breath and the support in the back of the neck and head. And just take a moment to drink in this feeling of comfort, of support. And in doing so, allow yourself to be mentally present here and preparing for your class, for a fruitful class, by focusing in on your body, on the sensations as you lie here and the sensations of the breath. So allowing all of the mental energy, the work and thoughts and analyzing things and planning and executing tasks that have made up your day, just allow that to start to trickle and filter out and away like a dimming light. And instead the focus, the spotlight, now turns to the sensations of the body and the breath. So it's a shifting gaze, not forcing the mind to be in one particular way, not forcing the attention, but shifting focus. And I invite you here to now begin to lengthen your breath. We're going to do some pranayama. Stay exactly where you are, hands where they are, eyes closed. I want you to imagine as though you could literally take in the deepest breath, the longest and deepest breath you've ever taken. So what does that mean? That does not mean a short, that does not really fill up the lungs and the body. It's a slow, incremental increase. So imagine as though the breath goes first to the belly, and try to measure and almost preserve the length of the inhalation by allowing small and steady amounts of air into the body. And once you've reached full capacity, the exhalation is just as lengthy and just as measured, and almost like a frugal approach to the release and inhalation of breath. You want to try and preserve each moment, lengthening each moment. I'm not counting because we're all going to be at very different cadences here. So when you reach the bottom of your exhalation, let's return, same process. And this is a lovely practice in calming your mind, because you really have to apply the mind. There is no way you can breathe with such length, such long, full inhalations and exhalations without being fully focused on it. And there's no way that the breath could be even here, that the inhalation, exhalation could be sustained for so long at such an even keel without full focus. So keep those cycles in your own time, steady and long and frugal. And remember to make sure that the exhalation is at least as long as the inhalation. Maybe you want to count in your own mind. Maybe that works for you. Maybe it doesn't. Perhaps it's just a sense or a feeling. And you're fully immersed in this process, this simple process, simple task, and it takes full concentration, full attention to make that breath last so long, to breathe in such a little bit each passing moment, and yet in totality, so much. And the same with the exhalation. And I invite you to flow through 3 more cycles of your own rhythm, of your own breath in this way. These super, super, super long cycles. Drinking almost like you're savoring each sip, each molecule of air. And savoring the exhalation with just as much zeal and care and gratitude. And when you've come to the bottom of that third exhalation, I invite you to open your arms out in your own time to frame the face. So maybe your elbows meet the floor, maybe they don't, maybe they're elevated still, that's fine. And make like cactus arms now as you spread your fingers. Elbows are in line with the shoulders, elbows at a 90-degree angle, and fingers are spread, palms still facing up towards the ceiling. And as you do this now, you can press your bum into the floor and feel as though you lengthen through the lumbar spine, through the lower spine, and arch it more deeply. And then that also means, of course, lengthening through the front of the body, lengthening through the chest. Another full breath like this. And then exhale to release your arms from where they are. Place them on either side of your body to inhale and lift up. And just move those cushions out the way. Place them nearby. And we're going to recline again, coming into the cat's noose now. So we did this once before, I think the first week of our sessions, of our yin sessions. So we can start with the right leg, and you can bend the right knee, interlock the fingers over the right knee, and hug the right knee in towards the heart. Left leg stays nice and straight out in front of you. And you can lengthen the back of the neck, tucking the chin in towards the heart. Gently pressing your hips evenly into the floor. Elbows are close into the body, shoulders down and away from the ears. Then exhale to release that knee and lift up your left leg and bring both of the knees against each other, so together, one behind the other, and the legs come out like handlebars, like of a motorcycle. The feet come out like when the feet are flexed. You can just take a moment to hang on to those handlebars. So my fingers are passing, palms are passing under the sole of the foot and then over the outer edge of the foot. And then gently lifting those feet up and outwards and pressing the knees away from the chest, and you feel the spine lengthening and straightening onto the floor. Just a few breaths here. Remember to soften over the back of the shoulders, to soften through the arms, to get a nice full stretch through the arms and the back of the shoulders. Our area of focus in terms of our energy, Chinese meridians. And then on your next exhalation, take your right hand and swing it over onto the top of that left foot. So fingers still over the outer blade of the left foot, but hand on top. And then exhale to lower the knee towards the floor. And then swift over onto the left side of the body, left side of the torso. And then you've got your right leg, two options here. The one is to keep the knee bent and maybe place a cushion under that right thigh, the inner part of the right thigh. The second option, and the chair is in the way, but I'm just going to move my leg in the middle of the legs, is to straighten your leg out. So it depends on your level of flexibility in your hamstring and over the hip. And if you're quite supple there, it feels comfortable to straighten your right leg. But that might not be the case with still holding on to the right foot. And if that's not, it's completely fine, totally cool. Keep the knee bent and place a cushion under that leg. And then look away from your right foot, so you're looking over your right shoulder. And you can close your eyes if that feels nice, if you found your edge in the pose. So our theme for today, aparigraha, means non-attachment. And this can, of course, align in our lives to our identity, ego, things we love, memories, habits that we're used to, objects in our lives, titles, can be a whole number of things. It is not just a material issue, an issue of possessions. And it is more about the way you relate to all aspects and things in your life, particularly things that you have become attached to, things that you rely on and find that you need. And that can be things that are good for you and things that are no longer good for you, that do not serve you, that are actually harmful to you. And it is linked to, of course, it is the fifth of the 5 niyamas, as I said, and the yamas and the niyamas come from the Yoga Sutras. They were written in the 2nd century BCE, around then, and they outline the Yoga Sutras outline an 8-limbed path to purifying the body and the mind. The aim is to steady the mind, to achieve calm bliss. And the first 2 steps on this 8-limb path, before any physical practice or any other type of yoga, are these 2 things, the yamas and the niyamas. When you're ready, we can come out of the cat's noose. So you're just going to lightly release your feet and come back to a neutral spine, coming to straighten your spine out. Lengthen through the right leg and lift up the left leg. Interlock the fingers over the left knee and exhale to draw it in towards your heart. Remember to press elbows in towards your chest and reach up through the top of the head. Drawing your chin ever so slightly inwards. And then when you're ready, lifting up that left knee, taking the right leg behind the left, making the handlebar shape with your legs, hooking your hands on the inside, the under part of the sole of the feet over the arch, and fingers wrapping around the outer blade of the feet. Then pressing knee against knee, moving those legs away from the chest, away from you, and keeping the feet active as they lift up and press backwards. Shoulders super soft, neck super soft. Feel as though your arms are just lifted and led by the strength in the legs. So allow for the stretch in the outer part of the shoulders and the back of the arms. And then when you're ready, taking your left hand over the right foot this time. Exhale, drawing that right outer part of the leg down towards the floor, knee still bent. Then coming over onto the right side of the body, wrapping your hand on the front of the left foot, and then deciding, are you going to keep the knee bent here and just place a cushion under the leg, or are you going to straighten it out? And if you are straightening it out, ensure that you aren't straining to do that. So make sure there's still that sense of softness in the body. And then when you're ready, look over your left shoulder, wherever you are. So a lot of the yoga that we speak of and think of and is commercially available and popular in the Western world, and indeed in the modern world today, has nothing to do with niyamas and yamas. It is very far removed. It is just one step on this 8-limb path. Just one, small and rather inconsequential. It's not the last, it's not the peak of the goal or the steps. It's not the top of the mountain, and it's not the start either. It's not the foundation where you begin. It's just one aspect, physical postures. The foundation of your path in yoga, your marga is the Sanskrit word for path, the absolute foundation, the first steps are these yamas and niyamas. And they have nothing to do with your physical prowess. And mostly they really apply to they can be practiced, of course, on the mat, and they're very applicable and help us deepen our experience on the mat and deepen our sense of awareness and connection to body on the mat. But they really flower and take on meaning off the mat. And we won't be talking about all of them, of course, today, but to run through them, the 5 yamas are to avoid violence, to avoid stealing, to avoid lying, to avoid wasting energy, and to avoid possessiveness or non-possessiveness. And the 5 niyamas are cleanliness, contentment, purification through effort, study and observation of habits, and then surrender to something greater than yourself. And of course, we are concerned today with the 5th of those yamas, the non-possessiveness. And of course, all of these scriptures and these observances, if you read them now, they're not 100% applicable to our modern lives. There are certain aspects of them that they're a bit kind of outdated and draconian. An example is that the avoiding leakage or wastage of energy unnecessarily. That is more of a modern spin on what was written as celibacy. It was a precondition to be a yogi, to take on a life of celibacy. And the modern interpretation, the updated interpretation of it, is to not waste energy in ways that are harmful to you. Do not engage or give your energy to things or people in ways that are harmful or invaluable. So it's to avoid wasting or leaking energy unnecessarily. So that's kind of like a more modern spin on these observances, and there are examples in all like that. On your next inhalation, you can just release your feet and come back to a neutral spine. And then lift both knees up and hug both your knees to your chest. So drawing your hands onto either side, onto either elbow, pressing your hips to the floor, lengthening the back of the neck, chin going in towards the chest once again. Maybe you want to rock from side to side. Coming to steady the body. Let's take 3 breaths of expulsion here, or release. We did a few of them in our vinyasa flow on Thursday as well. So it's to breathe in through the nose, and as you do that, lift up your head and bring your nose as if to your knees, drawing in tension, feeling the strength building through the inhalation, and then exhale, an audible exhalation out the back of the mouth. And release your head. So let's do 3 of those. Inhale to lift, knee to nose, tension, and then exhale, release. So make an audible sigh. Inhale to lift, and let's do a 3rd one. Inhale, tighten, lift, and then bringing your fingers over one of your knees and rocking up to a seated position. And you can move your knees out to the side now and come up into tabletop. And we're going to go into thread the needle, which is really good for our shoulder stretches. Have your books nearby before we get into it, because we're going to use it straight after thread the needle, so have them close. So for this tabletop, let's start with the right arm. So press your left hand into the floor, left hand under shoulder. Inhale to lift up with the right arm, looking up towards the ceiling. And then exhale to thread that right arm underneath your body, coming onto your right cheek and to your right shoulder. Now, as this is the yin version, there's lots of ways to build on this in a vinyasa practice and make it really active, but we don't want, that's not our intention today. So I invite you here to bring your left hand over your head, fingers pointing down, reach into your left fingertips and try and soften your face and soften the side of the head, soften your bum. If you find that this is too hard and intense, you can fold a towel underneath your shoulder and your head now as well. So just see, just ask yourself whether this is comfortable. It should be. We'll hold it for about 2 minutes on each side. We're already 30 seconds in on this side. But I think that these niyamas and yamas are still relevant. So there are some things, parts of it, like any wisdom or text that you think, gosh, that's become outdated, that doesn't apply to me. But there is certain wisdom that really does translate and does resonate today. And that is particularly to do with the ways, that is more subtle ways that these can be interpreted, more subtle and deeper manifestations. For example, abstain from violence. Well, you might say, well, I'm not a violent person. I don't inflict violence on other people. I simply don't engage in that. I've never done that in my life. Well, the meaning is not just don't go and beat someone up. It's avoid circumstances where you inflict harm upon yourself, for example, through harsh criticism or negative mindsets. Perhaps you push yourself too hard. Perhaps you have unfair expectations of yourself or your loved ones. For example, so in this regard, stealing, do not steal. You might say, well, that's just not what I do. It's not part of my life. I've never done that. Well, an example of stealing a subtler interpretation could be plagiarism, taking other people's ideas, using them for your own gain without fully recognizing. Or perhaps it's draining another's energy. How perhaps there's someone in your life that you are a leech on or for. Coming through the last inhalation here and exhalation, sliding your left hand in front of your face, pressing your left hand into the floor. Inhale to lift up with that right arm once again. Exhale to lower the right arm. Inhale to lift up with the left arm now. And then exhale, let's thread the left arm through, coming onto the left side of the face. And you can reach that right arm forward, stretching that hand nice and far forward. That feels good and right for me, but maybe that doesn't for you, and maybe you want to keep the hand close to your face. That's also good. Check if you need that towel underneath your body, and try and soften your hips and soften the belly. Close the eyes. And so our parigraha, our focus of these yamas and yamas. One of the lessons of this is to not covet what isn't ours. So this is linked, of course, to the niyama of contentment. So to not look outside of yourself and dream of and compare. And I think sometimes we do engage in this, and I think social media heightens this potential in us to look at others' lives and habits and bodies and ways of doing things, and to covet what they have or compare ourselves. And this, of course, is a serious leakage and wastage of energy. and never leads to fruitful conclusions. Another aspect of a parigraha is to travel life lightly. So this is not just related to material goods. This invites us to take stock of our life in all aspects and ask ourselves what baggage, stuff, emotional, mental, physical, to do with our egos, identities, our relationships, all aspects. To have a look, to take stock, and to regularly engage in spring cleaning, to keep the luggage light. On your next inhalation, bring your right hand forward, place it in front of your face, and then lift the body up, lifting the left arm with it. Exhale to release. And then before we come into the Anahatasana, we're going to do like a gentle down dog, if that feels good for you. So moving your bum back towards your heels, inhale to lift up, exhale, and maybe just pedal through the feet. Be super soft with the body and don't strain into the mula bandh or try to make a perfect alignment. Just pedal through the feet and groove through a nice accessible down dog. The only, I guess, rule I would say for the posture is to not strain your neck or head to look forward. Look down to the floor between your hands or even back from your hands. And you can make it active pedaling if you want, or you can make it nice and still, up to you. Let's flow through 5 more breaths here. If it feels too intense for you to stay for 5 full breaths now, please go into your knees when you need to. Otherwise, let's try to make those full expansive inhalations and exhalations of expulsion. So maybe we're probably now closing in on 3 more here. Make the last 3 out the back of the mouth. Perhaps an audible sigh if that worked for you. And then slowly bringing your knees back towards the floor. And now we'll need those books. So, or blocks or buckies. And you're going to line them up on the mat in front of your chest, just in front of the chest and shoulders. And they must be lengthways, so longest way towards the side and shoulder width apart. And then you're going to bring each elbow forwards, place them on the top end, so the end furthest away from you of the book or block, and then exhale to lower the upper arms onto the block or the block. Let's just call it the block. And then bring your hands together as you draw them back towards your spine, and you're matching palms and fingers together. So you want to bring your thumb to touch the vertebra, to touch your spine or close to it if that's not accessible. Your knees are underneath your hips. You can soften your feet and have the tops of the feet flat on the floor. And you should feel a super, super release over the shoulders as you do this, over the upper arms. And try to, if you feel it's not intensive enough for you, you're looking for more depth, maybe you want to move the head forwards and move your elbows forwards away from your hips, and that will force you to open your chest more. And we're going to hold this for about another minute. So breathe fully and deeply and use the breath to release any tension you may be accumulating in holding the pose. Try to focus also on any tension in the face as you hold the pose and try to release it. So imagine as though your practice, of course, becomes part of your practice on your mat, becomes part of your practice in learning to travel through life lightly. So letting go with ease, letting go without a feeling of attachment or fear or regret. And feeling content enough with your world, with what you have, to be able to let go. And of course, all of us have innumerable number of things in our lives, physical, emotional, relationship-wise, etc., that are no longer serving us. This process of cleaning out, of spring cleaning, has to happen a number of times over our lives. It's ongoing work. Nobody masters it. Nobody is perfect at it. It's something we have to engage in, as we have to clean our houses, as we have to clean our living spaces, as we use our yoga practice to twist and release toxins from the body and clean out what is unnecessary from our bodies, what is no longer serving us, to release. Coming into the last 3 breaths here. And then when you're ready, dome up through the upper back to lift up your chest, and then place your hands on the blocks, and then bring your knees together and sit back into your Virasana seat. Maybe you want to place a cushion underneath your bum if your Virasana seat is not comfortable for you, and you can just move those blocks out the way. And now in our Virasana seat, I'm going to invite you to come into the Ganesh Mudra, which is to hook your fingers in like that, like little, I don't know, little staples, and then have your right hand facing in towards your chest, left hand facing away, and draw the palms together, let the fingers hook, and then pull them back against each other, elbows out, elbows in line with the shoulders, hands in front of the heart. So this is the Ganesh Mudra. And as you might know, it's a very popular deity, Hindu deity, Ganesh. And Ganesh governs our ability to release, to cleanse, and to overcome obstacles in our life. So this mudra is nicely themed with our aparigraha. And I invite you to really press the shoulder blades down and back into the back as you press the chest forward. Just spending a few breaths here in our Virasana seat, and I'm going to say our Ganesh Mudra as we're our Ganesh mantra as we're in the mudra, which is Guru Gana Patiye Namaha. So Guru Gana Patiye Namaha. Guru Gana Patiye Namaha. Guru Ganapatihe Namaha. The Sanskrit to call on or to channel the energy of Ganesh in our lives. And then I invite you to lightly release your hands, open the arms out, cactus arms, and then exhale to bring the left arm forward, elbow in front of the chest. Take your right arm around. Let's find our Garudasana or eagle arms now. As you press the palms against each other, lifting up the elbows and pressing them away from you, away from the chest, hands up and away from the face. Just keep the spine nice and straight here. Stay seated, stay elevated, and keep the hands active. We'll hold this for about 30 seconds. Should give a lovely release. If you find that it's not intense enough for you, or you're looking for more depth, you can also dome into your shoulders. So you can really press the scapula away from the chest and then look in towards your chest as well. And you should find it gets a bit more intense then. Last full breath here, inhale, exhale. As you inhale, keep the arms where they are and come up onto your knees. Engage your glutes enough to be steady, to keep your balance. And then keep lifting up your elbows and soften your neck and come into a back bend to your edge, to what feels good for you. As you keep lifting up the elbows and just allow the head to fall back. So you don't even, if you have previous injuries or have to take care with your spine, you can just make it a chest opener. You don't have to come into a back bend. But wherever you are, make sure your glutes are engaged just to help you balance. So imagine as though you have a pendulum balance here, that your head is heavy and your head is going backwards. So if your glutes are engaged, you're pressing your hips forward, and that's the energetic pull in the opposite direction to the head. That's what's going to keep you stable. Last breath here, inhale, exhale, and then release. To sit down and open the arms out, nice and wide, and then bring the right arm forward in front of you and take the left arm around. Pressing hands against each other. I should have said, if that's not accessible, you can press the back of the hands and arms against each other. You don't have to find the full kind of pretzel effect. And then you're going to lift your elbows up, lift your hands up away from the face. And if it served you on the one side, make sure you do the same on the other side, in terms of doming into the back of the shoulders and looking down towards the chest. And so these poses here are deeply activating into the energy meridian for our large colon and our ability to release processed toxins and release from the body that what's known in Ayurveda as Apanuvatu, the energy of release down through from the belly button down and out the body. And this is activating that and intensifying your ability to release, to let go. And perhaps you want to just bring to mind here, as we do this intense pose, you want to bring to mind something that you know perhaps is an automated, impulsive answer in your mind, something you know you need to let go of, something that is no longer serving you in your life, and it's time to let go. We'll be bringing that to mind here. Perhaps it's a feeling or a memory or a sense, an aspect of yourself, perhaps someone else, perhaps an object, a place, a space, whatever it is, bring it to mind. And on your next inhalation, lifting up onto your knees, engage your glutes, lift your elbows up, lift your hands up towards the ceiling, open up the chest, feel the pendulum balance, perfectly balanced, perfectly capable, free, expansive. Let your breath be deep and begin to release with each exhalation, keeping in mind what it is you need to let go of. Last 3 breaths here, each exhalation an iteration of letting go. And then slowly sit down and release your hands. And you can come back onto your knees, placing your hands forwards, and take your right leg out towards the side. This will be a lovely release pose. So right leg out to the side, right toes in alignment with the left knee. And then exhale to move your bum back in space and reaching your hands forward. So it's almost like a straddle child pose with the right leg out. So just reach back. We'll hold this not for a full yin hold, a couple of breaths, but it should feel very relieving. Look down towards the floor and continue with those full expansive exhalations. And then when you're ready, inhale to lift up, coming back into your tabletop, bringing the right knee under the right hip, and then kicking out with the left leg, left toes in a line. I'm like all cobbled up in the corner here. Left toes in alignment with the right knee. When you're ready, exhale, lower the bum back, coming into this kind of child pose straddle. Few deep, full breaths, keeping in mind what it is you need to let go, and exhaling into the earth, releasing into the earth where all energy can be absorbed. Allow the downward motion and the privacy and intimacy of looking down. Allow that to cultivate the right circumstances and environment to let go in safely, to feel safe to do so. Last full breath here, inhale, and let go the exhalation. Inhale to come back up, tucking your knees under your hips once again. And we're going to use our chair now. So you're going to just swivel around to get the chair onto the mat. Have your chair facing towards the front of your mat, and have the seat of the chair in towards your belly. So I know I swiveled around, but keep yourself facing towards the front of your mat. And then come up onto your feet, and your feet hip width apart. Bring your hands shoulder width apart on the back of the chair, and have your toes pointing in slightly, heels out slightly, and then soften your head. Keep your bum moving back in space. Keep the bum nice and heavy, as though there's a magnetic pull, and your fingers are interlaced over the back of that chair. If your hamstrings are very tight, maybe this feels a bit intense from you. In that case, you want to bend your knees. So allow the knees to be bent if that's right for you, for your hammies or for your lower back. The weight can come onto the front of the toes, and then the bum presses backwards. So you should really feel like you're almost flying, elevated in space here. Fingers holding on to the back of the chair. And you can release your head, let the head and neck hang down. And of course, our ability to embrace aparigraha in our lives is deeply linked to that niyama, the second niyama, which is aligned to our ability to feel content in life, contentment. And the two cannot go without each other. Any process of letting go can be fought. Any process of letting go can be painful and hard. Any cleansing can evoke a lot of feelings of grief and loss in us, perhaps sometimes anger. And the necessary balm is the ability to drink in the sweetness, drink in with sweetness and grace what it is we have, in spite of the loss, in spite of the letting go. And this contentment is not speaking to some kind of aesthetic, like some kind of ability to, or need to not have things in life, or not like things, or want stuff, but rather to not be strongly attached to anything in particular, that we feel our entire identity and our entire world is dependent upon it. a deep sense of contentment in spite of or underpinning all that is in our lives. Inhale to lift your head up and exhale to come onto your knees. And we're going to come into, this will be the last move like this in opening the shoulders, and then we're going to face the other way and do some other relieving postures. So you're going to come onto your elbows, palms together, and you're going to slide your bum back enough to let your head soften. So my head, I can slide back enough to relax my head and then bring my fingers, my thumb and my forefinger back to press onto my spine. So really it's directly between the scapula. And this is super intense, and it's possibly even more intense than our Anahatasana, or heart melting pose that we just did. Make sure your neck is very soft. And just keep with the work in the breath. And just a few breaths here. Last 2 full cycles. And then inhale to lift your head up, dome through the upper back to safely come out of the pose, releasing your hands. And then we're going to swivel to face away from the chair. So you might be facing away from your phone or computer now. You want to come and to sit on your bum and have your back to the seat of the chair. So as though you were sitting on the chair in the same direction and alignment, but sitting on the floor instead. And you can straighten your legs out in the staff pose, the Dandasana, straight on your mat. And then you're going to just draw that chair in or move your back a little bit to be snug into the upper back. And then everybody's got slightly different chair, which is what's tricky about doing this over video. But the first thing to do is to keep the arms and the hands low and just reach back in space, trying to find the back legs of the chair. If you don't find the back legs of the chair, you can also hold on to the bottom of the front legs. So everybody's chair is of course slightly different, but with my chair here, you can see an example where I'm holding in onto the back and then straightening the chest up. And there's like a sense of traction between straightening my chest and lifting through the shoulders and pulling the chair in towards the scapula. So just a few breaths here. And of course, all of our niyamas and yamas are interlinked. This is not just one of the linkages. Another link between a parigraha and a niyama is and another yama is to avoid the wasting of energy, because of course all the things in our lives that no longer serve us, that we hold on to, that is a serious leakage of mental energy. Holding on to memories and habits and ideas, perspectives that no longer serve us, that is serious wastage of mental energy. It takes up space. And so not one of these observances can stand alone or should be implemented in your life alone. On your next exhalation, release your hands, and then staying where you are, but bringing your feet on the floor. So now we're protecting the lower back a little bit here. Knees are bent. Inhale to lift the chest up and reach for the top of the chair. So holding on wherever depends on the height of your back, the length of your arms and the height of the chair, but reaching to the back of the chair and lifting your elbows up and then drawing your elbows in towards each other. So don't keep the arms slightly active here. Don't let the elbows splay outwards. Two options, look up towards the ceiling is one. If you find that strains you, then just look straight forward. I find it quite straining to look up. It feels quite tense on the back and almost like a bit of compression on the back of the neck to look up. So I'm just looking forwards here. And the breathing is, of course, deep and rhythmical, and you should feel it press into the upper back, into the scapula, and a lot of release work over the shoulders. This is something you could do during the day if you spend a lot of time in front of the computer, and you could just slide down in front of your chair and do this. It would do wonders for the upper back and over the shoulders, which we're an area where we carry a lot that no longer serves us, an area where we carry tension and strain, a lot of weight and strain that is unnecessary. And so let the philosophical and mental and emotional work meet the physical, let them bleed into each other. Coming into the last few breaths here. And let us make them releasing breaths, so 3 of them. Remember, the exhalation is audible out the back of the mouth. So inhale through the nose and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And last one, inhale and exhale. Releasing those arms. Might feel a lot of tension and tension release and some tendons, and bring your hands on either side of your hips and then just scoot the chair back. You don't have to stand up and move around or anything right quite yet. Just scoot it back a little bit and your legs are straight out in front of you. And then I invite you to lift up your right knee and hug your right knee in towards your heart. We come into the Marichyasana twists, the sage twists. So this is like what we did lying down on the floor. So shoulders back, elbows in close towards the body. And then on your next exhalation, bring your left arm, the crease of the left elbow, in front of the right knee and right shin. And then take your right arm and place it at the base of the spine, or even over towards the left hip, the rump, left side of the bum. And then look over your right shoulder. So this is a nice seated twist. It should feel comfortable and you should feel elevated from the hips upwards. Try not to strain, try maybe to close your eyes and to not strain with your neck, so it still is calming for your nervous system. So these twists, of course, are helping our process of cleansing. Last full breath here. Exhale. Then slowly release. And you can twist in the other direction. So right hand over the outside of the left leg, pressing the left hand into the floor. Keep that right knee active and look over the left shoulder. So we're going to twist, counter twist in each direction. And we'll make the counter twist just a little shorter. Another 2 breaths here. And then release. And let's swap to the other side. Left leg, nice and close in towards the body, being mindful with the movements, being caring and loving with the body. And then when you're ready, take the right arm over and then bring the left hand behind, twisting away from your straight right leg, looking over your left shoulder. So another link in our yamas and niyamas is that parigraha, this process of letting go, this process of spring cleaning, does not have to be a violent one. You do not have to be harsh with yourself. It encourages you to be kind to yourself, to acknowledge with open eyes, an open heart, what is no longer serving you, but to not harm yourself and others by breaking and destroying and pulling apart with fierceness, with harshness. So acknowledge that these necessary processes of letting go are painful. They're tough. And so apply the balm of contentment, seeking contentment, but also loving kindness to yourself as you fill the empty spaces you are creating with love. When you're ready, exhaling, and let's do the counter gaze. So left hand over right knee, right hand behind you, twisting to look over your right shoulder. Last full breath here, inhale and exhale to release. And bringing your both knees up towards your chest, hugging both knees in towards the heart, pressing the bum into the floor, reaching up through the top of the head, shoulders down and away from the ears, and just feeling your lovely straight long spine. After the squeeze work, the detoxifying work, you are now allowing blood and energy to soak through the lovely straight alignment of the spine. It's such a comforting pose, almost like the fetal pose, in that sense. Just drinking in the sensation of comfort, feeling safe. And then releasing your arms and coming forward onto your haunches. And we're not going to stay in the malasana or the yogi squat. You're going to pick up your cushion or your blocks or books if you want, anything, basically to support your heels, to put in behind your heels. And with that support, you can then bring your feet together and you'll be balancing on your toes. The back of the feet are supported by something, towel, anything that you placed under there, and then squeezing the knees together. And you can first bring your hands into Anjali Mudra in front of your heart, just finding your balance. If you find like that there's not enough support, if you're using a cushion like me, the cushion's quite soft, so I'm actually going to place the books under as well as a secondary extra bit of support, and it feels a little bit stable, so just check that. Just take a moment to finding your balance, lengthening through the spine and the back of the neck, relaxing into the face, relaxing into the shoulders, and feeling the flow of downward energy here from the belly button down through the pelvis, through the pelvic floor. Just being aware of the heaviness of the bum and the lower part of the body, and feeling that energetic pull down, earthing down where the energy can be absorbed. And then when you're ready, let's find our Ganesh Mudra again. So left hand pointing away from you, right hand pointing in towards you, and the fingers just cupped. bringing your fingers to press against each other as you lift your elbows outwards, elbows in line with the shoulder. And now we're coming into what's known as the noose pose, the Pa'asana. So we'll go to the right side first. So you're going to exhale and look towards your right side, left elbow pressing out, and then twist to bring your left elbow over the right knee. And you should feel that it's not a strain to be here. And if it is, then you can sit on your chair behind you and do this on your chair. So make sure you aren't straining. Use the chair if you need to. Press your left elbow on the outside of the right knee and lift your chest up as though you want to bring your Ganesh mudra in line with your heart. It doesn't have to be exactly, so I say your heart, that's flippant, the center of your chest. So you want to bring your hands to be in line with the center of your chest, and that's just allowing you to twist more deeply. And then you can look up towards the ceiling, or you can look down to the floor if that hurts your neck. And we'll just hold this for a few more breaths. So this is a deeply detoxifying pose. Also a pose that is cultivating the movement downwards of Apayavatu and also working into our Chinese energy meridian of the large colon. And just holding this for a few more breaths. Remember, use your chair, sit on your chair at any stage if it feels like a strain. Last breath here, inhale. And exhale to release. Coming to the center. Let's take ease before doing the other side. Release your Ganesh. Place your hands to the floor and just lift up your bum. And you can keep your feet exactly where they are. Just hang in your ragdoll, bringing your hands onto your elbows. Knees are bent. Just hang out here for a few breaths. So the weight is right into the toes, tilting the bum up towards the ceiling. Neck is long and soft, shoulders totally relaxed. Just a few breaths here before we find our way to our Pa'asana on the other side. Last full inhalation and exhale. And then slowly sit back, bum goes back into your squat. Bring the knees together, sit up nice and straight. Bring hands to heart first. Find your alignment and then find your Ganesh mudra when you're ready. Left hand pointing away, right hand pointing in, elbows out, fingers engaged. When you're ready, exhale to twist to the left side and then inhale to lengthen through the spine and then exhale to bring your right elbow on the left knee. Press your right elbow back on the left knee to lift up your chest and bring your Ganesh mudra in line with the center of your chest, maybe looking over your left shoulder or maybe looking down towards the floor. So you want to try and breathe into the body, finding space in the pose, trying to find a sense of ease in the pose. As this is a soft and restorative posture, please, if you feel tense or uncomfortable, rather do this pose sitting in the chair. Make sure your neck is soft as well. Coming into the last full breath here. And then exhale to release. Perfect. Bringing your hands forward enough to move whatever you placed underneath your heels out the way. You won't be needing them. You will be needing a cushion for our last pose, the supine twist. So you can just step back and maybe come into a gentle down dog to walk out any tension from that noose pose. Just pedaling through the feet. And then when you're ready, bringing your knees to the floor. I'm going to move my chair out the way. We're done with the chair now. And we're facing to the front of the mat, getting ready for our supine twist, which is super, super lovely and relaxed. So my knees are going to go out to the left side first. Two cushions I'm going to place, one in front of the other, lengthways towards the front of my mat. My right hip comes onto the floor at the bottom end of my cushions, knees out to the left. Inhale, lengthen through the spine, and exhale, I'm lying onto my cushions, and then either looking out, if it's accessible and comfortable for your neck, looking out in the direction opposite to which your knees fall, so that would be towards the right. If that doesn't feel good, then you're going to look to the left. It's a bit less intense. Make sure that your head is supported here. So maybe you're bringing your cheek onto your hands. Maybe you've rolled up a little towel to cradle your head in or on. Perhaps there's the cushion. Just make sure the neck is supported. And this should feel very, very calming and completely relaxing. It should take no effort to be in the pose. Just reclining on the right side of the body, left knees out, looking to the right or the left. Elbows out, head supported. Eyes are closed, jaw is soft. Breathing now super soft, finding that subtle inhalation and exhalation. And this pose is very comforting, and it brings to point that the main root cause, it is written, of any possessive behavior, any reluctance to let go and do the work of aparigraha in our lives, the main root cause is fear. And this is a fear of change. This is a fear of what will be as a result of the change that happens in letting go of stuff that occupies the space in our life, in our bodies, in our mind. A fear of what will be. In letting go, a new epoch, a new experience is ushered in, an experience without that thing. And fear holds us back from letting go. But truly, what are we fearing? We are fearing the inevitable. Change is the ultimate eternal law of the universe, of our lives, of our human experience. And fearing this is a waste of energy, and it is an obstruction to our own fulfillment and development and flourishing in life. Is there any point in fearing what is inevitable? What is absolutely necessary? What is a pattern that will repeat itself over and over and over and over again in our lives? Change. Letting go and making space for new stuff, and then letting go of that, and then having time and space and energy for new stuff, and then letting go. When you're ready, I invite you to press your arms into your cushion and lift up. And we'll just gently come over into the other side. Knees out towards the right. Lengthen through the spine and then exhale to soften into your supine twist on the other side, looking towards the left if you can, or if that's sore for your neck, then rather just look in towards your knees. Make sure you've protected your head. And of course, this letting go, this overcoming of fear, requires of us great courage. It is not to be diminished or to be laughed at or belittled. It takes tremendous courage. It is natural to feel fear. It is normal. You know, practice in meditation, in mindful movement, in yoga, whatever your movement practice, your mindful movement practice is, that reminds us of inevitability of change. It reminds us of the cycles of our life. It reminds us of the eternal pulse of give and take, of ebb and flow. And this gives us courage in the face of fear, of letting go. And letting go requires of us to trust, to have faith in the newness that will come. And this is the fifth of the niyamas, the final binding and the most transcendent of all. This is surrender. What does it mean to surrender? It means to have faith, to trust in that which you do not understand or do not want, or is beyond your comprehension, or beyond your plan, beyond your design. And so to let go requires of us to surrender. And our trust and our faith in surrendering is our courage. And it is not a courage of a warrior, of fighting and straining, but it is the courage of a lover. It is the courage of sweetness, of embracing, of kindness, of understanding, of compassion for oneself and the laws and rhythms of the universe and the great web of life that governs us. I invite you to lift up your chest when you're ready, coming out of your supine twist, and we are now ready to go into our Shavasana. So maybe you want to swing those cushions behind your back. Maybe you want to place one under your knees. And get something nice and warm over you. And when you're ready, lie back down in your corpse pose, in your Shavasana, with whatever support you need under your body, whatever support feels right and good for you. And perhaps you want to put an eye pillow over your eyes, or a t-shirt or something, just to cover in any light or distraction. As I invite you to turn your gaze inwards, to retreat into the stillness and the silence of your inner world at the end of your practice, when you have cultivated the subtle and reflective and soft mind, that comes with Yin Yoga, our mindful movement practice. And I invite you to retreat into your body in perfect stillness here, perfectly supported on the mat, on the earth. The chosen form, the posture of the corpse pose, is merely a framework, like any other pose. And it brings in the stillness and the comfort of knowing within the framework, and thus the ability for us to let go. It gives us the space and ability to let go, to dissolve into the framework of this time and this space, of this body, this posture, this earth, this breath. Let us dissolve with the faith that we need to truly surrender. Let us let go with sweetness and with grace. Let us let go not fighting or resenting. Let us find the courage to let go lightly. Let us find the courage to travel through life lightly. I invite you to lightly run your tongue over your teeth, perhaps over the roof of the mouth, then over your lips. Run your thumb over your fingertips. And then when you're ready, stretch your hands above your head and take a deep breath in. And then taking great care with your body, I invite you to come up to a seated position facing forwards. And I invite you to bring your hands up in front of your chest, not quite in Anjali Mudra as we would usually, but cupped, palms facing up towards the ceiling, like holding a vessel, like your hands are a vessel. And I'm going to repeat a release mantra in English. And if you want, you can repeat it after me out loud or in your own head, or just listen. Up to you. I forgive, heal, and release everything that consciously or unconsciously could delay or block the complete evolution of my being. Let's do that a second time. I forgive, heal, and release everything that consciously or unconsciously could delay or block the complete evolution of my being. Then on your next exhalation, I invite you to invert your hands and press the palms away from you in space. And wheel your hands out to the side and return to bring them back into the cup shape. Let's do that a second time. Exhale to press the hands away from you in space, palms away. Bringing the arms back to the side and inhale back in Anjali Mudra in front of the chest. And I invite you to join me in an Inhale. Thank you for joining me this evening. Namaste.